That's quite a good tranche of players you could have back.
Yeah. Look, we knew that was happening, and in time, I didn't really want to mention it, in the weeks past, because you need to focus on the group that's playing that weekend and give them belief and confidence that they're able to do a job. But certainly, they're going to be a massive boost for us, not just in terms of experience, but how they drive, the standards, which clearly weren't there at the weekend.
And can you just recap what George's problem was exactly?
Yeah, he's had just a minor groin strain. I say minor, it's kept him out for 4 weeks since the Exeter game. So but he's passed and done more than what we'd expect him to at this point with the injury. So everyone's really happy with how he's tracking, and green light at this point, green light for him to play. But we'll give it the week and make sure that he gets through everything, and he's looking good for it.
Ben Curry missed Saturday's game, didn't he?
Yeah, Ben's going to be out a while longer, but not too long. Yeah, you saw him pull up on racing back for a line break against Claremont, and that was in the 60 odd minutes. So again, it's going to be a week thing with him, but probably not to the new year.
And what are you expecting from Quins? Obviously, they got a bit of a hiding in their big game on Saturday.
Well, I imagine they're feeling much the same that we are. There's dented pride that you want to rebuild. There's the Premiership ambitions probably at stake for both teams. You're getting fewer and fewer chances where you need to be able to rack up points just to stick with the top 4. And then we played them and beat them last year relatively comprehensively. So we actually know from their group that this is a game that they've been targeting to want to get some payback. So that's what we're expecting. We're expecting them to come up, as they always do actually against us, and level up physically. Like, they'll level up through the middle, through the collisions. We know that, and I think they'll double down on what is essentially the Quins kind of game model, which sharp on transition and really good if you let them have a bit of a run up. You know what I mean? If you kick the ball long to him, and you get Green and Marcus Smith and Isgro and there's the winger. If you let them get that run up and they get the nose through, and then they're very, very good. So it's a case of closing them down in defence and kind of maintaining the excitement and energy we've had against Claremont, not so much against Saints, but against Claremont in how we attack. So, a big job to do, Adam. Yeah.
Thanks, Alex. Have a good couple of days.
Thank you, mate.
Alex, a quick one from me. I was in the conferences at both the Glasgow game and the Northants game, and you've said the defeats have been put down to the coaching decisions. Have you had any different messages this week, or in terms of as a coach's perspective? Yeah,
coaching methodology against Glasgow and strategy against Northampton. I put it, and they were contributing. It's not, they weren't the underlying, but immediately on reflection, could have done that better. That's where we feel, and I'm saying that, and I come in and the lads are saying, no, that's on us, it's on us, and which is great, innit? And it's not an us and them thing, it's a we thing, it's a together thing, that we know that we're all taking accountability for performances that we're not proud of. So we had another one of them meetings again today, and it's a bit of an honesty meeting, not a crisis meeting, but an honesty call about the kind of team that we want to be, and it's not an inconsistent one. It's not a 1 week on, 1 week off team. Those kind of teams don't reach semi-finals, don't reach finals, and we've got this opportunity now at home in front of our families, and we did talk about, families watching, your kids watching. We spoke about that, and what does it matter? Does it hurt enough? Real kind of deep questions in and around that. So we've delved into that, and from a coaching perspective, You know, we've had a bit of a restructure as well, haven't we, in the last couple of weeks, and we're leaning into what is a smaller coaching group with shortened communication lines, and I'm sure we'll reap the benefits from that as well down the line.
And then you've mentioned against Saints that you had a short training week. Has that come at a good time for you?
They're all short around this time of the year. It has come at a good time. We were a bit affected last week with the water, the weather, as you know, up north. It was really wet, like standing water at our own training fields. So we had to train in the 4G, and that brings its own complications, like Sir Luke Gowan-Dickey and Tom Curry. We tend not to run on them, so you know they didn't get the prep they needed. And all these things add up. A little bit of strategy, compromised training week, you know, a couple of injuries, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a 50-point drumming. And you know, we take the reasons, but we're not making excuses here. We're going to be better. This week comes, yeah, and welcomed really in terms of a 2-day training week, because you're not going to train on Christmas Day. We're not that mean. But it means we can get a good amount of work into them in the 2 middle days, which is when you can anyway. You know, the Tuesday, the Wednesday, tomorrow. We'll get them off by lunchtime, and like I say, switch on, switch off. Challenge for them to come in on Boxing Day.
And then lastly from me is it just controlling the controllables in terms of looking ahead this week? Because as you mentioned, a shorter training week.
Yeah, there's clarity with those players coming back in, or maybe those players coming back in. As I've said, they've got clarity around the game plan and what our launches are, what their defensive launches. That's first and foremost. And then basics. You know, our basics haven't been up to the standard. They haven't been good enough. Just basic things in and around work rate, set piece, you know, making sure your exits are good, making sure you're accurate in attack. Real basics, catch pass stuff, just to focus on that.
Awesome, thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Ben. Like your jumper, like your Christmas jumper, very festive.
Thank you.
Hi, Alex.
Oh yeah, you all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Just knowing what you're like as a coach, I'm imagining the sort of the inconsistency that the team's showing has been a huge frustration to you in the last couple. You know, win at Claremont and then the performance of Saints. Can you just sort of give us an insight into sort of maybe how you put your finger on why that's happening and the frustration that it's caused for you as a coach?
Look, we've got, like I say, got to look to ourselves as coaching group, and I do think we're accountable for some parts of that in terms of, like I say, our methodology. In the areas that we could have coached better, the time is so precious on a 2-day week, Al. Like, it's so precious. You know, we're only really at half-an-hour units and half-an-hour rugby today, and it's probably like the same tomorrow. So you're only on the field for an hour. You don't get the most out of a 10-minute slot where we're doing, say, defensive mauls, which we didn't in the Glasgow week. You know, by ways of repetition and personnel. It shows at the weekend, because that's your only 10 minutes to work on it. You know, and this week we went for a bit of a long and on battle against Saints, because we thought it had worked well with the wingers we had and some of the kickers we had in the field, and it just played into their hands. So that's on me. Do you know what I mean? And then in accepting that and saying, well, I can do this better, or the coaches can, you look, and the players are coming in and they're looking at their own work rate and at their own mentality, and they're saying, well, we weren't in the same place clearly as what we were the week before. And that's something on them. So that there's individual accountability for mentality, consistency mentality, that leans into consistency performance, right? That's definitely something we've identified. The best players, you know, on back-to-back games are extremely consistent with their performances. They don't get tired. They dig in when other people bail out. And what we have is a group of less experience at the moment who obviously find it more difficult. Now, they'll make the grade, these lads. Your Alex Wills and your Tom Burrows, they've been performing well and maybe above expectations, but it takes time to build up that resilience to be consistent. So, you know, there's something in that as well. Within some of the inexperience we've played, the lads who have stepped up, it is very difficult to back up week in, week out in the Prem, and we're seeing that across the board, aren't we? We're seeing it across the board at this time of the season when your squad takes injuries. consistency is key, and we're yet to hit that mark there, Al. So there's a few factors there, I'd say.
And is that where, you know, having like George, and who obviously drives like the highest of standards, having those experienced guys that you mentioned to have us back, that will make a huge difference on that, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it does, and we've seen it today. And not only that, like, because if they're coming in, whether they're either starting on the bench, your training standards, both sides, because you've got better people on the park, goes through the roof. So your levels of competition, how you're tested. You know, you're not going into a game with false confidence in the fact that you're not just training against an academy group, which we did last week.
And just lastly, you mentioned the top four a little bit earlier. Do you think this is like a bit of a win or bust one for that? Is it getting to that stage, or is it too early, do you think?
Yeah, no. I don't think it's not do or die at this point. But we've called it. You know, we want to get to semi-finals. We've got to win every home game. You have to at this point, and then pick up a few away as well. But yeah, home games are a must.
Nice one. Happy Christmas to you.
Thanks, Al, and you, mate.
Cheers.
Hey, Luke.
Hey, Alex.
How you doing?
How you doing?
Oh yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, like I say, I'm buzzing. Once you get back in and you find everyone's aligned and you had those conversations, then you're back up on that curve again, aren't you? So I'm in a good spot, thanks.
Good to see you. I appreciate you talking about there's been times when maybe you've made errors in strategy, coaching, but are there times when you've just laid into your players for not being good enough? Is there a time for that? Yeah, I guess it's. We don't have to shout. You know, if there was a conversation where clearly there's objective evidence there, you know, and sports science-based stats that show one thing, and yet the players aren't taking accountability for it, then maybe there's a means to force your message home with a greater intent. But that's not the case. So it's more like a coming together and an acknowledging and an owning of it. You know, I might add we had the owners in today. We had Sign Shelling. So invested. I saw them on Sunday at the women's game, and I was with Si last night. And there's been some stuff, you know, in the press around how much money that the club is spending and losing. And there's reasons for that. But they came in just to say, look, this isn't going to stop. Like, they're supporting the players financially and will continue to do that forever. And part of that's like flights and socials and food and everything else. And not the requirement, like the understanding is that if they're financially supporting the club, then the minimum what they ask for is a performance based around effort. You know, everyone can try hard, can't they? And it's sunk home that. It's sunk home for the lads, seeing how invested the owners are and how, like, Michelle's here 4 days a week. She works here. She doesn't have to work. She works because she loves the environment. She wants to contribute in a positive way. And obviously Simon foots the bill as well. So for them to come in and show that kind of solidarity and to tell them that nothing's going away in terms of support, and it wasn't an ultimatum, but like just understand that we're all in this together, I thought it was quite a powerful thing today. So it gives you some insight, doesn't it, the type of meeting it was. And there was a bit of aggressive, like, clearly this is not what we want to be, but more coming from the players on each other than ourselves. Thank you. And it's you know, you've had some good results, but it's been a while since you won a Prem game, so you don't feel there's any confidence issue there with the competition, or there's a lack of self-belief or anything like creeping in, given that the league results haven't been good?
No, I don't feel it myself, and I'm generally a pretty good barometer on how the lads are feeling. And like I say, you get 3 or 4 lads of experience coming back in, it kind of lifts the group again. Because we couldn't be in a better spot from post Claremont, and maybe that's it, Luke. You get a result like that against a team like that in the place as it is. Maybe there's just that, I don't know, maybe a collective sigh. Oh, all right, we're all right here. Do you know what I mean? And just that little edge that you lose is enough against a Northampton at home. We're on good form for you to get embarrassed.
I was going to ask you, you touched on it earlier, I was going to ask you if, Quins obviously had a very painful one against Bristol, but would you say that, they need to be worried about you having a point to prove as well on in the coming match?
I'm sure like we've been talking about them, they'll be talking about us in the same tones, yeah. Like, we need a response.
I'm asking everyone about this because I did a story about escort defenders. Ross Byrne saying that coaches are going to turn second rows into wings and chase kicks. How do you see that? How do you personally view that law tweak? Do you see it as a positive thing?
I do. Yeah, I think it's a positive thing. What ironically, they want to do away with scrums, don't they? They don't want as many stoppages, and it's promoting more scrums. So you give with one hand and you take with the other, don't you? But I like the idea that a part of the athleticism, hand-eye coordination, accuracy of kick is something that can be rewarded within the game and not, like you say, not countered essentially by blocking, which it was, wasn't it? I think you're going to find a trend in wingers, who are a bit taller, so you're able to go into the air, not just ball in hand to some of them. In fact, we're looking at wingers, we're looking at recruiting guys who are of a height now, having been taught a lesson by Noah Calori down at Saracens.
I was going to. Well, I mean, on the subject of Tom Roebuck, I mean, obviously there's nothing you can control about players going and getting injured. But is that something that you just move on from very quickly and just go, well, I can't control it, or was there any repercussions to that? And it's just something. There's nothing you can do, right?
There's always a deep dive into reasons why, so it doesn't happen again.
How do you mean? Sorry.
So you always look at the mechanism. Always look at that, like how did it happen, where did it happen, when did it happen? Then you work back from that in terms of loadings. So was it impact related, concussive related, or is it a load issue in terms of metres per minute, above 7 metres per minute, fatigue levels within the game? And then you can track back on that to see whether or not they were prepared enough and robust enough through. Like they do weights, but they do prehab and they do rehab as well afterwards, and everyone's got individual programs, so you individualise those programs to account for maybe some weaknesses within the body, and so there's a lot of layers here that you look to unpeel to ensure that the lads don't get injured by things that you had control over, and that's what we're deep diving into. And if you've had control over it all and you've given decisions that you made in terms of minutes that they played and when they played and how often they played, and they still get injured, then you can let it go. Then it's all right. But if you could have done something better, then obviously there's learns there to be had, isn't there? And people taking accountability for that. That's why you have such big S&C teams nowadays and medical teams, because the money, the resources is the players in it. Like you've got the best players available on the field who end up winning cups. So you want them all available back end of the season, which it looks like we will have. But as you said, Al, we'll have a job to do at that point, won't we? If we don't get a couple. Sorry, go on.
Brilliant, Alex. Final one. Do you do Secret Santa with the squad, or what kind of Christmas bonding things do you have? Yeah,
we do. We have a Christmas social, which we had pre-Claremont. Out in town, we have reef making.
How long before? A few days before?
No, it was like a week before. It's straight after that Glasgow game, because we played Friday, so we had Saturday, Sunday off. So we took them out on Saturday. Went out in Manchester, and Jacques Vermeulen was like, "See, I told you, Al. A team that drinks together wins together." We went out to Albert Slosh and then to Mayfield Depot, the big warehouse there, and got some food. The girls had some reef making and a night out as well. So all the wives' girlfriends and coaches' wives went out. We had a Santa's Grotto for the kids, where some of the ACAD lads dressed up as elves. We had a team
Christmas meal. So all the coaches served the players for the Christmas meal. It was really good food. And then all the academy lads get up and make up a song, a really derogatory, piss-taking song of each other, but mainly of the coaches as well. So I featured in that one. That was quite good. And we have a secret Santa. So quite a lot. And we're probably planning to, have a decent Boxing Day booze up after the bust up with Quins, because everyone's got to kind of stay off it and keep their heads on it tomorrow on Wednesday. So we'll celebrate.
Yeah.
We'll commiserate on Thursday.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Luke. Thank you.
Is there anything you want for Christmas, Alex?
I want to win.
Fair. Fair enough.
I want to win.
Points against Quins.
I want to win. Yeah. That's more than I want for Christmas. And I know it doesn't come down to that, but if I'm on the nice list and Santa's listening, give us a 5-pointer.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
No, so
Chris, you've got anything to ask?